can see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face.
Oh, I'm from Brooklyn.
Hey, get us any.
This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
What's up, everybody? It's another episode of Coast to Coast. I am your host, Pags. I've got Bo with me today. He showed up for work. StatGuy may or may not show up for work, and we fully expect a Jason sighting, McLovin sighting next week.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
hopefully that holds true.
You know, if you look at your texts, you would have known that I wasn't going to be here.
Yeah, well, sometimes, we're busy outside of this show. It's like it takes me a good 23 hours to prepare for this next show. And if you count the hours of the day, we do this show for 2 hours. 23 hours brings me to 1 o'clock. So I'm not even fully prepared for the show until we're halfway done.
That's right.
But anyways, it didn't matter. You know what? I found something to talk about for a couple of hours.
Yep.
Anyways, in the meantime, let's start talking about it, because we are now less than a week away.
Hell yeah.
From the NFL draft. Detroit, everybody's going to be headed to Detroit, including myself. On Wednesday, I am going to be doing the show from close to wherever the NFL draft is. We're going to do everything we can to, kind of be like, okay, here we are at a Starbucks where we're using somebody's free Wi-Fi right near the NFL draft as they're setting it all up and things like that. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to get it there. I'm going to be there on Tuesday, so I might be in the car driving during our Tuesday show, which means that you probably won't see me. I'll show you the road in front of me, so that you can see that I'm driving. But ultimately, it's going to be a fun week next week.
Yeah, man, I'm ready for it. I'm tired of seeing mock drafts. I'm tired. Let's get some NFL action back. Plus, we want to see where some of these other free agents land, and they're not going to happen until after the draft. So it's going to be awesome to get this thing underway. So yeah. I wish I was joining you there. Couldn't quite secure my my media credentials. So I'm going to try and do it from a bar downtown Seattle. Okay.
You guys, did I hear something about the Queen Anne?
Yeah. Yep. That's the one. Queen Anne Beer Hall. That'll be the place. Some of the Seahawks in theory should be there. The dance team will be there. So it should be fun. It's not going to be, at the draft fun, but it'll be a good time.
Well,
cheaper though.
Well, and I tell you what, because I do happen to have some friends in the Seattle fan base, maybe we could work something out that when you guys are doing your pick, I will be somewhere close to the Seattle faithful that were invited to the event. Yeah. And I could kind of show you their reactions, maybe get a couple of interviews from the Seattle people, because you guys are picking what? 17th?
We got the 16th overall, I believe.
16th. Okay.
Yeah. But we'll see. Schneider does have a history of trading back in the first round. So if they're not really going after a quarterback, then there's a real potential that they drop back into the 20s and secure a couple extra picks.
Yeah, that would make that because the Eagles are at number 22. I don't know. I don't know that how do you feel about that? Trading back this year?
I mean, if you're not going after a quarterback, then it's fine. right? Like if that isn't what your concern is, because it's not like you need a top flight receiver. They have those, right? If you want a good offensive lineman or a defensive lineman, you can get that late in the first round. You're not going to get the top two guys, but anybody that you get from 15 through 40 is going to be similar skill sets, right? Late first round, early second round, you're still going to get a pretty solid offensive lineman, defensive lineman.
Any chance that
you're not going
they
to get Will Anderson, obviously, but
any chance that they're going to take Penix?
I think there's a real possibility, especially because the offensive coordinator was Penix's offensive coordinator. So there is some of that, right? Yeah, I mean, I don't know, because they seem like they've kind of leaned in on not doing that. Now, obviously, that's speculation, could be gamesmanship too, but not to tip your hat and then have somebody snag your guy. So I mean, all of that goes into it, obviously. But do I think he could be a good fit? Sure, as long as we have significantly better offensive line play than what we had last year.
Well, which becomes really difficult when you have the offensive line like you did last year.
Well, sort of. So, I mean, the thing is when you look at the offensive line for the Hawks the year before last, right, when they brought in Cross and Lucas and, those guys, that was their draft year. We had a good offensive line. Gino had a spectacular year, right? Set the season passing record for the Seahawks. This last year, both our tackles get hurt in the first half of the first game. We didn't have our desired starting five until week 15. So it's tough to really say that the offensive line was bad, because it was just this rotating cast of parts. And we watched how that worked when the Rams had it happen the year before, and similar with the Cardinals. I mean, both of those are top flight quarterbacks that severely underperformed because they didn't have an offensive line that was, consistent. So, I mean, if you can get everybody back and they're healthy, then the offensive line could work. Do I think they still need some pieces? Sure. Interior offensive line, maybe some depth at tackle, but all of those types of things you can get later, right? So then all of a sudden dropping back can work.
Right. No, I get that. Rob seems to think that they're going to trade with the Panthers and have the Panthers try to get up into a number one pick area, so that they would trade their 2 second rounders for a first round pick.
I can't imagine they want to get rid of more picks. Like, they already don't have a lot. They don't have a lot of picks. They don't have a lot of cap space. I could see them trading back from one of their second rounders to just try and get some pieces for the Panthers, because that team has a quarterback and then they need everything else.
And there's always going to be a lot of hype on quarterbacks, because
Of course.
truth of the matter is that when you're in the media, the quarterbacks are really the only thing that you could talk about. That the wide receivers, there's such a drop off after Marvin Harrison Jr. that it's not worth even mentioning. And then offensive linemen are as fun to talk about as this desk. You know what I mean? That I'm sitting on. So, I mean, because it's not fun to talk about offensive linemen.
I mean, unless you got a real game changer, like you're not really talking about much. But and there's only ever one of those in the draft anyway. And unless you're in the top, 5 or 6, you're probably not getting that guy.
Well, exactly. So I would just stick to not knowing baseball instead of not knowing baseball and football. So.
No, I mean, I could see someone trading. I just can't imagine it's the Panthers, because they're so strapped for draft capital. I can't imagine they'd get rid of more of it.
Hey, and if they were going to get rid of a first round pick for 2 second round picks, the Eagles have 2 second round picks. So they should call them and take the 50th and 53rd pick in the draft.
Yeah, I was going to say, your second rounders are probably better.
So, Ultimately, I think that I mean, let's see, the Panthers probably have pick 33, I would assume, and then pick 40 or somewhere around there. But really unimportant. But either way, it's going to be very exciting. I, we already know who the first pick in the draft is going to be. Likely, we know the second pick of the draft. But it seems that there's been a little bit of talk here about the Washington uh, franchise that they don't seem to know which way they're going. And normally, I would say that's gamesmanship, except for the fact that
It's
you
Washington.
have Yeah, except for the fact that you have a new ownership that what they do is own sports franchises. And I can appreciate the fact that they are, when you own sports franchises, you get that sports people to come in.
Yeah.
But if you don't have the organization laid out the way you want to, it becomes a little bit of a power grab, I feel. I
Okay.
don't know if this is true or not. I mean, no idea. Like this could be all gamesmanship coming from them, but I don't think so. I don't believe that.
Yeah.
I believe that they are going to flounder here a little bit initially because, you know, like I said, this isn't a soccer team. This isn't a basketball team. This isn't a hockey team. This is
Yeah.
a football team. It's a whole different scenario. The way that you go into this draft is not the way you go into an NHL draft or an NBA draft. So I wonder really where they are at going into this draft. Like, are they quarterback hungry? Are they maybe considering trading back in the draft because there's so many franchises out there hungry for quarterbacks that they could possibly get a later first round pick and two first round picks of upcoming seasons, which if I was a team that wasn't 100% certain on how I wanted to go,
Mhm.
depending on where that first round pick is that you're trading for, like if you're going to take the next two after that you would do that and see, okay, who's the fifth or sixth quarterback in that list that I could go for, or who's maybe a third round quarterback, because after the first rounder, when you take a quarterback in the third round, the amount of pressure that's on that quarterback diminishes tremendously.
Oh, there's none. There's not even an expectation for them to play.
Right. But you could put him out there. There ain't nothing saying you can't.
No, that Russell Wilson, prime
Yep.
example.
Dak Prescott, same situation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so it's not unheard of to do it that way. And it would make more sense to me, get the assets, especially if you're not sure what's going on. But
Yep.
it's going to be a power struggle there, because if you don't have this all defined already, there's going to be the grab here and the grab here and the grab here and the grab here. And I think that's where it comes.
Rob, I think he was a sixth rounder.
Yeah, 199th pick in the draft.
Yeah.
That all being said, I mean, but they had Drew Bledsoe,
Exactly.
so that was supposed to be a 2-year project.
Well, and see, and that's where I don't think, if the Seahawks aren't getting somebody at 16, then that's where I think they fall back, because are they going to waste their time on a third rounder? Probably not. They just spent draft capital to go get Sam Howell, right? So, there's no why would you draft another guy to fill that same spot, right? Because I'm not looking at the guys that are going to go in the third and fourth round as an upgrade from him. I don't have him in, I don't think he's a great quarterback either, but I don't see any of those being an upgrade from what they just spent draft capital to go get. Right. So when it comes to Washington, man, who knows what they're doing? That from the outside, it looks like a dumpster fire.
Yes. Yeah, but as I said, And where there's smoke, there's fire. And I feel like that there is a little bit of smolder going on over there.
I don't
That's
know. I feel like we can kind of see some flames.
yeah, yeah. It's like all you gotta do is have a nice little breeze go over it. Next thing you know, it's just
Yeah,
flames up.
they're an orange glow for sure. You're just like, oh man, I don't know how this is gonna go. Now, I mean, I guess the good thing is because it's new coaching, new owners, they wipe the roster clean basically. There's not going to be a huge pressure for them to do anything either, right? So I mean, all they have to do is kind of show a direction, right? During this season, not necessarily do anything special because they're probably largely just going to get beat up this year. But as long as you can kind of see them start to build an identity, I think their fan base will be fine.
Who? Washington?
Yeah,
What fan base?
exactly. All five of them.
There's seven. There's seven because I am good friends with all the hog farmers, and there's like 7 to 10 of them, and they do some fantastic work down there for charity. They were based off of the original hogs, and I do hope, for lack of anything better, that if they do, because I heard that they may have to change the name again. I don't know how true it is or how not. It's just
So it doesn't sound like they have to. It sounds like they want to, which is bizarre to me.
well, I know because I'm not a big fan of the Commanders. I think that that's
I don't
ridiculous.
particularly like it. I just think as a fan, I'd be mad if every other year all your gear is changed again.
That's why I would go. I personally, I would go with the wild boar. First off, I'm a big fan of, yeah, like I mean, out of all the team names, that one is available. The Washington Wild Boar, you could do that. WashingtonWildBoar.com. You could go get that right now, no problem. So, um, because all the other names are taken. It would also go back to some of their thing with the hogs. You know what I mean? That the wild boar, hog, same situation. Like they're the same animal, a little bit rougher. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You could, and I just feel that it's, of course
I
I'm
could
a
even see that
Redskins.
podcast. Be like, welcome to the hog bog. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, like there's so much that goes well and goes back into their history.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Without having, like, I'm big on the history part. Like all right, you changed it from the Washington football team to the football club to the Redskins, and then you got forced with this whole Redskins thing.
Yep.
This is the problem that you had, the original problem that you had with him, because if you didn't have any of these other problems, the Redskins name would have stayed.
Yeah, I would think so. Although I don't know. I mean, they kind of wiped him out from all sports. So
Well, the Blackhawks are still there.
that's true.
The
That's
Chiefs
true.
are still there.
Yeah.
So I don't want to hear that. I mean, the Cleveland Indians, Cleveland did it because they're trying to become woke. Washington did it, it's in D.C. You know what I
Yep.
mean? But he had so many other issues he had to give up on one front.
Well, I mean, yeah, that guy was such a train wreck. Like, I'm surprised it took so long to get him out of there.
Well, because you can't, because that's a very slippery slope. That is a very slippery slope. When you
Yeah.
now are telling owners that they can't own, when you tell billionaires that they can't do this. I mean, I know that he was just as bad as the guy from who owned the Clippers. If you remember that whole situation
Yep.
where his girlfriend, his Asian girlfriend, is recording him talking about that. Well, I mean, he made like billions of dollars in the sale of
Of course.
that team. You know what I mean? He owned the forum. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was like there was so much money that's involved with that. And he was like 92 years old, so he could have cared less, really. And you know what? Now you're out the door. Now you won't making any money. You don't get any of what I got there, girlfriend.
Yep.
Do you love that lavish lifestyle? beat rocks. You know what I mean? So I don't know. But I mean, he was much worse. Like,
Yeah,
hey, let's see what's going on in the cheerleaders locker room, shall we?
yeah, right.
Tick tick tick. So
Crazy, crazy. And Brad, I've finally gotten to the spot where I just call him Washington. Because I know, I get tired of messing their name up because they change it all the time. Like I still struggle with getting, not calling the Chargers San Diego. So it's a lot of years calling San Diego Chargers. So I'm with you.
Bob, we already know now that you don't know baseball, and now you're just showing that you don't know football at all. Just shows. Just shows. This is why we don't have you come on to our show when we're talking football.
I just like that that Rob woke up choosing violence this morning.
Yeah. What? I guess what the Seahawks, the Mariners lose yesterday.
I don't know. I didn't
miserable about it. Is that
I
what
didn't
that what
watch
it is?
yesterday. I was
Let me
finishing
see.
up working on cars.
Let's see how that all occurred yesterday, shall we? How did the Mariners do? They didn't play. I guess they didn't play.
They did not.
How about that?
Hey, you can't lose if you don't play.
Perfect. Who do they got today? Who do the Mariners have today? Oh, the Rockies, after we just swept them.
Sweet.
So it's interesting because you guys are getting them right. You're getting our leftovers. Whatever we do, we beat them up. They're going out to Seattle afterwards, or Seattle plays them. So
that's fine. That's fine. If you want to wear them down first, that's cool. Wins are wins.
But yeah, okay, that's fine. I bust them. Hey, listen, that's the one thing about me. I got thick skin. I'm able to make it out.
That's part of the fun.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's part of the reason we love sports.
Yeah, the Kraken played yesterday. I did see that they were playing yesterday, and they won the last game of the season. So against the Wild.
It's always good to win the last one. If you're not moving on, it always good to finish kind of on a high note, right? I mean, not that it's a high note because you're still missing the playoffs, but at least you didn't back into the off season, right? Anytime you can finish with a win is good.
No, we didn't sweep the Reds. We swept the Rockies. So when you don't sweep the Rockies, when you lose today 7-2, I'm gonna come on Monday and really bust your nuts.
Come on, we'll get 3. We'll get 3.
There you go. 7-3. My bad.
Nah, I think they will fare pretty well against the Rockies. It'll be the next series against the Rangers that I'll be intently watching.
Well, that will be an interesting series. I heard maybe Angel Hernandez could be calling that, so you never know what's going to occur.
I mean, that's great. Everybody has a chance when it's Angel.
Yeah.
I don't
you
care.
Never know exactly
your team
who
is.
He's betting on.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
But so, anyways, like yesterday, I did a whole rundown. I did the NBA and the NHL of how everything is going to play out in the playoffs. Now, the NHL, I did spend a little bit of time on because obviously the Flyers were not in it.
Yeah.
So it was like, hey, I'm going to talk a little bit about this. And I figure when it comes to the NHL, that's probably, well, it probably comes to the NBA. You guys aren't really interested in talking about that either. So
it's playoff basketball. So that I actually watch. Regular season, not so much, but really playoff sports in general. I tend to watch because it's exciting. It's fun. The games mean something. It's tough to get up for, some of those mid-season games in, regular season basketball, or some of them in baseball, right? Because it's just like this game doesn't matter because of how many games there are, right? It's one of the things that is so good about the NFL is every game is important, right?
correct.
When you're talking of 162 games, there's quite a few of those games don't matter.
Oh, I'm sorry, Rob. Do the Sonics not have a team? Oh, I didn't know that. I thought Kemp was going to take over these playoffs this year.
I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing him dunk the ball one more time.
What is he, like 50 some years old at this point?
He is. Yeah. But he's
And
tall. I bet he could still dunk.
I'm sure he probably didn't need to jump that high. I don't even know who Sean Payton is. He was erased. He was erased from the entire, history. Just like the Seattle, like so. OKC won that championship. I don't
Oh,
know if you
you're
remember.
talking about Gary Payton. I'm not sure is he
He's
trying
Sean
to talk
Payton.
about? Is he
I
trying to
don't
talk
know.
about the Broncos here?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. So Gary Payton. Either way, I understood what he was talking about because, like I said, all that history was erased. The Sonics never won a championship. It was OKC.
That's right. That's right. That was one of the dumbest things I saw. Was they changed the name in the record book? It's like, okay, come on.
Well, just like but they did that the same way. For instance, the Virginia Squires, which was the Sixers team before they came to Philadelphia. When the Warriors left, the Sixers were the Virginia Squires, and ultimately they changed that to them as well. So, and it was like the Virginia Squires. I think they were the Syracuse Nationals too. I'm not
Oh,
sure exactly. I think that's how it all kind of worked out and played out. So,
well, I mean, in a way, I get it because you bought the team, but you didn't buy. So you bought the team, you bought the history, but you didn't get the name, right? Which is why if we get a team again, we get to be the Sonics again.
well, I think they brought the Nationals in. It was going to be the Philadelphia Nationals, which made sense. But I think because it was the 76, 1776, instead of calling us the Nationals, let's call us the 76ers.
Yeah.
So I think I wasn't there in that meeting. That was before I was born. But
What?
so,
What are you talking about? You messed up at being the Nationals too.
yeah,
COVID, everything. It's all
exactly. It was 1967 that they won a championship, not 79. 79 was the 76ers went there and they lost, I believe, to the Portland Trailblazers. Yeah, I think it was Portland that we lost to. That was the Walton.
Hmm.
So I remember that. I remember kind of being around then because the Flyers were also really good at that time. Then in 1980, they wound up going. In 1980, all four teams went to the finals. It was the only time ever, short of Detroit. Detroit did it in the 60s with three major franchises. They didn't have baseball, I believe, at the time. But that 1980 was the only time that all four teams made it consecutively. I think Boston just did that recently as well, back in like 2014, maybe 2015. So, and when you get that Ghost expansion, they're gonna be like, we didn't get that championship, so that wasn't our championship. There's no such there wasn't the Seattle Sonics. So you think that there was a basketball team up there? That's all part of the Mandela effect.
Yeah, that's right. It was never there. Never happened.
Exactly. So, but anyways, yeah. So I mean, that's kind of what the basketball. What do you think? Who do you think, just to come, I guess, out of the West? Do you think that somebody will beat Denver, or will it be Denver?
I mean, the way Denver is playing, I feel like it's going to be Denver. I mean, unless they just have some crazy fall off coming into the playoffs. I haven't seen a team that I think really matches up well.
Now, how about out of the East?
That's a little different. I'm still kind of leaning towards Boston, though.
Well, interestingly enough, I think that Boston's going to have their hands full with the Heat. I keep looking for. I saw that you know that Chris said that there was some flapping.
Well, that's because he's out for this
He got
game.
an MCL, right?
Yeah.
Out several weeks.
Yeah.
Played the rest of that game though. So, yeah, that means Chicago wins.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
And he said he was talking smack out of that. So,
well, yeah, because it was an unnecessary way for him to get hit, and so he tweeted out, when something to the effect of, "When I see you, we're throwing hands," for the guy that hit him.
Kelly Oubre.
Yeah. So, because I mean, he essentially ended his season.
Yeah.
Over something that was, I mean, like you could concede the basket there. Like that was like he came in and I mean, it was a cleanup shot, right? Like it's not like you were actually going to stop anything. Your best case scenario was you were sending him to the line. Realistically, it very easily could have been a 3-point play coming in the way he did. Or a 4-point, because I mean, it could have been viewed as a flagrant as far as he jumped from.
Right. I'm surprised that it wasn't considered a flagrant because they usually hand them out like technicals right now.
Oh yeah. No, those are the refs are Oprah. They're like, you get a tech, everybody gets a tech.
So yeah, if he's out for a couple of weeks, that definitely keeps him out for the Boston series. Ain't no chance that the Heat have enough power to get past Boston. They may have enough power to get past
The Bulls, maybe.
the Bulls.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, DeRozan's got to have a pretty good game without.
I think it'll be a tight game without Jimmy in there. I think they get smacked by Boston without him.
Well, yeah, I exactly. I think either team gets smacked by Boston. But I was hoping for a tough series with Boston. That's what I wanted. Sure. Now I think if that's the case, Boston has a cakewalk through to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, I mean, if for whatever reason the Heat get through and Butler can't go, that could very well be a sweep.
Yeah, well, I think it could be a sweep either way. You put the Bulls in the mix. Bulls get in. I mean, maybe they can get one game just because Boston wants to win it at home, and game 4 they're just like, yeah, okay, here we go. Oops, I missed. Who cares? Yeah, I mean, like that's kind of what happens. They want to get back home and win it at home and then stay there. For that second series, that Cleveland and either Cleveland or Magic series, I mean, I just don't see either one of those teams have the firepower to be able to compete with Boston. I see that being a sweep. The one thing that's the caveat there is you sweep them and then you're sitting around waiting for another series to finish.
Yeah.
I
think that would probably be a 5-game series though.
What, the Magic versus the Celtics?
Yeah, I think either one of those teams could steal a game.
They could. Maybe not, though. You know what I mean? I think that either way.
Sure.
That's kind of what it is. I mean, that's the reason why you'd want to throw that 4th game. And I'm not saying throw it, just be like not care as much about that 4th game. Because you come back home and then you're back home and you get to play one extra game. It's not a practice because, the one thing that happens when you're not playing is you get rusty.
Yeah.
It just happens. Rust happens quick. So
especially as much as everybody likes to, jack threes up, they're a little off when you aren't playing all the time.
Right. So my expectation is that I would like to see Boston sweep them and then sit and then get ready for a Sixers. That's my hope. Obviously, the Sixers going to have some work to do first. I think that at least most of their work is going to happen in this first round here. I
Yeah.
know that you think that the Knicks are the Knicks, and because of that, they lost already. But
I mean, it's the Knicks. I mean, not to say that they can't win in the first round. I'm sure they could get a first round win. It's possible. Just means they're going to lose in the second round. But
but they're playing the Sixers now, and that's going to be the tough part here. Like I said, out of all these,
that'll probably actually be the best series of the first round.
Yes, I agree with that. At least on the East, at least in the East, I think that the West, that Kawhi Leonard, who's actually not playing in Game 1, versus Denver, that Clippers Denver series is going to be a great series. Not Denver, Dallas. Dallas. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's going to be a really good series, and I think that Kawhi needs to be there if they're going to win it. But him not being there in Game 1, they still have a lot of talent there in LA. So
yeah, but I mean it's Kawhi, so you can only count on him for about half the games anyway. It's why I never really put a lot of stock in whatever team he's on doing much, because it's just like, okay, he's mostly not going to be available.
Warren's injured. He'd start to Oubre Jr. Here's what he said. I'm going to get through. I'm going to just go through this pretty quick. What did he actually say? It didn't say. He just. Here it is. In a lighthearted response, just so, to the unfortunate news shared on the Heat Instagram, Butler jokingly threatened 76ers guard Kelly Oubre Jr., who was involved in the play leading to the injury, writing, "We throwing hands." Okay, that's more like what I was thinking. That's not really what they're talking about. I thought like he was really talking smack. That's not smack.
No.
Jokingly saying, "Yeah, we're throwing hands."
Yeah. I wasn't putting. I mean, first off, they're basketball players, so you're not really expecting them to really throw hands anyway.
Right. But hey, what's up, Joe? I'll see you guys later. Yeah, and I agree. I mean, Oubre Jr. can't even ride a bike. So, but yes, but I think Butler would win that fight if that really happens. Maybe we can get something happening with celebrity boxing. That would be the way to do that. So, but yeah. Anyways, so you got it. You got it. Would be the Celtics versus Denver. Denver winning it. Celtics winning it.
See, I think that'll be a good series. I still think Denver. I think Denver closes it out. But I think that'll be a 6 or 7 game series.
I'll be honest. I think that if the Sixers make it, if by chance Boston gets beat by anybody, which I don't see that happening, I think the Sixers go to the finals. Getting to the Eastern Conference Finals will be a step up for the Sixers. I'm interested to see on how that Boston series would really occur, how that would absolutely happen. It would be a great series, I think. That could go 7 games. Like that would rival some of the old school Sixers Celtics series.
It would be a fun one to watch.
Yeah.
Like I would look forward to that series.
Yeah, and if the Sixers were to win it, the Sixers will beat Denver, no problem. I think the Sixers match up amazing with Denver.
Okay.
I don't think the Celtics match up as well with Denver.
No, and that's why I think Denver, matchup wise, I think Denver can win that game or that series. I think it goes the distance, but I think they ultimately can win. I didn't really think about, how the Sixers would fare, but I think you're right. I think against Denver, they would be.
They wouldn't be the favorite. They wouldn't be the favorite, but they would absolutely win because you would have to. Yeah, and I actually would have the Sixers in 6 in that series. I'd have
Okay.
Denver in 7 against Boston. I have the Sixers in 6 against Denver. And I even being a realist, I'd have to shade Boston in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Sixers, even though I want the Sixers to win. I feel that it would be the Celtics that would possibly come out of that as the guys that represent in the East. Uh, the hard part about this is that we played those games against Boston so early in the season, and this is nowhere near that same team. And
No, of course.
last year I said that the Sixers had the best starting five, but they had no bench. Well,
Mhm.
the Sixers got a bench this year. They do have a bench, and I tell you, if Batum or Batum plays anything like he played in that Heat game, wow, you know what I mean? That was a way to turn it on. That was a way to turn it on completely and just start shutting people down and do that. And they're going to need that type of play against Boston.
Yeah.
They're going to need that type of play against the Knicks. You're not going to need it as much against Milwaukee.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
mean, it's the playoffs. Like everybody has to be playing kind of out of their mind.
right? So, and ultimately, it'll be fun to see if the Sixers could bring it all the way. I don't know. I don't know. I'd like to see them do it, but it's going to be tough all the way around. But the process would finally be finished. You know, Cody Rhodes finished the story. The
That-
76ers finally finished the story. They finally finished the process. So, but yeah, exactly. How bad is Joel's knee right now? That's a good question,
Yeah.
and that's going to be a very important question to answer. Uh, I would like for him to only be playing about 24 minutes a game right now. Give him don't let it tighten up. Don't let it stop. Like keep it hot and keep it moving and mobile, but don't put too much pressure on it, which means that you need everybody else to step up.
Yeah.
Mo Bamba's got to get in some playing time. You know what I mean? He's got to get in there and actually play really good defense and things like that. This is going to be a defensive series all the way around. It's got to be if the Sixers want to win. If they have to go shot for shot, the Sixers aren't going to do it.
I do. It's probably one of the other reasons why I like playoff basketball is the refs do swallow the whistle a lot more. Like they let a lot more happen. They call a
Yep.
lot less fouls. You're still getting techs and all of that. I mean, let's not get crazy. It's still Charmin soft, but they let you kind of beat on each other a little bit the way they don't in the regular season, and it becomes a more enjoyable game to watch when it's not constant foul line action. So,
Well, I believe that was so. Again, here my conspiracy theories. Uh, I feel that when I say they, I mean that the NBA told the refs to put these whistles away. Uh, and that all started from the Sixers versus Atlanta series 3 years ago. That was when they had to change the rule. They changed that rule from the what's his face, who's that small guy for Atlanta that was halfway decent. Trey
oh,
Young. Trey Young.
yeah,
Trey Young,
yeah,
the Trey Young rule, like
yeah,
where he would jump into somebody and shoot the ball and get the foul
yep.
because there was no rule stating about it, and they had to change the rule completely. Like, hey, you're not allowed to jump into somebody anymore.
Well,
That,
that's like they had that for Harden too because he'd do the leg kick, so he'd kick you as he faded back and get the foul that way,
right,
which I always thought was ridiculous anyway.
exactly. So they had to change that rule, but that also became, hey, listen, because they were calling it nonstop,
Yeah,
nonstop, and they're like, yo, guys, put the friggin' whistles away.
yeah.
No need to. But yeah, and Randall not playing is not the problem there with the Knicks. The Knicks, I think, are actually a better team without Randall. I think they're a more complete team. I think Randall hogs the ball a little bit.
Mm.
So they have a lot more opportunity for the people that are on the court without Randall there. Now, if the Sixers get out to a 2-0 lead, I'd be willing to bet Randall miraculously start feeling better,
Yeah.
you know. But I just don't see that happening. I think these are going to be really, really close. And we'll see. But the fact that the Sixers get a little bit of rest, they don't play until Saturday is great. Or until tomorrow is great.
I always find that funny, especially with the evolution of the NBA is, it's so reliant on the three ball at this point. I always find it interesting when you get absolute ball stoppers on the team, right? Where they have to have the ball in their hand the whole time. It's just like, man, like if you want clean 3-point shots, I mean, you're shooting 3-pointers most of the time at this point. A ball stopper is rough, right? Because I mean, passing the ball is what gets your 3-point shot open.
Right. So you have to be able to get around. Like I said, I mean, right now it's around the perimeters anymore. The basketball has changed so tremendously
Yes.
that it's like truth of the matter is that I wish that the Sixers had a real center or a real power forward.
Yeah.
Because the one thing I see that the Sixers do all the time is they give up offensive rebounds because Joel Embiid is not underneath the basket as often as he should be.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it now. It's because you keep him out of there because it puts a lot more pressure on his knee. Let's keep the pressure off your knees by keeping you out of there. But they got to put somebody down there.
Yeah.
This is. Yeah, I'm going to mention a name that may make some Sixers fans cringe, but this is where he actually did his best work. Is Derek Coleman. Derek Coleman was a favorite of Coach Brown. And nobody understood it. Nobody understood why. But Derek Coleman was also like that guy who would be under the basket. He would get those rebounds. He was not as good as a Charles Barkley, but Charles Barkley-esque, the way he played the game. And Brown saw how the league was going, and he was one of the last guys to still kind of do some of that. It's part of the reason why Joker gets some of his good stats, because he plays a little bit of that game.
Yeah, well, and unfortunately, it's really rare in the NBA at this point because everybody's a perimeter shooter. Offensive boards are a lost art because everybody's around the arc. Like nobody's even in position to go get an offensive board. I mean, obviously that also leads to how high these scores are. I mean, are they shooting threes? Sure, that adds to it. But you're getting no second chance shots. So, yeah, I mean, both teams are going to run the score up because it either goes in or it's going the other direction. So, I mean, it's
imagine like somebody like Dennis Rodman in this league. He would wind up with about 30 to 35 rebounds a game.
Easily.
And assists, because you get assists on 3 balls now.
Exactly.
That's so ridiculous to me. Oh, you got an assist on 3. So he would wind up with he could wind up with quite possibly a triple-double scoring no points.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just because of the way that he played. That was why, and they try to compare the two, and there's no comparison. The guy from the Warriors, that he's Draymond Green, that he is of that ilk. But he's of that ilk a little bit. He is made to be able to rebound and stuff like that. He's just an asshole.
He'll get in battle. There's no doubt. But he's certainly not the rebounder that a Rodman was. That's for sure.
Rodman was amazing at being able to box somebody out.
Absolutely.
Like that was what he was good at. He was able to get underneath of you, get in front of you, and then push you back. And
how good does your rebounding and defensive ability have to be for you to not ever be asked to score? And it's funny because it's not like he was a horrible shooter. Like he could actually shoot. He just had so many better shooters on the team. They never asked him to do it. But how good of a defender? I mean, that's next level type stuff. If they're like, you know what, if you could just never shoot the ball, that'd be cool. But you're
Or
still
just
going
do
to
the putback. Just do the putback. That's all
exactly.
you have to do. You got putback points. You're going to get 6 to 12 putback points a game. That's it.
Yeah.
Maybe less.
Yeah. You're going
0
to
to
take
12
zero real
putback
shots.
points a game.
Yeah. 0 real shots. And you may
Right.
end up with some games where you have 0 points, and that's fine.
Well, actually, and if realistic, he shouldn't wind up with that. He should, because at that point you also better be practicing your foul shots, because when you get them
That's
rebounds, they're going to be fouling you, and at the end of a game, they're going to be putting you on the line, and
true.
you're going to get your 6 to 8 points there just shooting foul shots because you're getting the rebounds and they're hacking you.
Yeah.
So that's kind of part of it. There is a place for that in the NBA.
Yeah.
You know,
In fact, you'd really dominate because no one's doing it.
yeah. I mean, like I think of who's the center right now for the Bulls. He was on the Sixers a few minutes ago, like 2 seasons ago, actually. But I mean, the Bulls. Where's he at? I'll tell you right now who it is.
Ooh, excuse me.
Because I keep Drummond, Andrew
Oh,
Drummond.
yeah.
You know what I mean? If I would love Andrew Drummond on the Sixers, the problem is that he does play center and he's a true center, and you can't
Yeah.
move him to forward, which would be a shame, because like if you could somehow put Embiid and Drummond on the floor at the same time, you would actually be formidable. But
Yeah.
both play true center, and you can't. It's and which it amazes me that you can't have three twos and 2 5s. I don't understand why you can't do that. Just because I feel like that it's a matter of where you're putting people.
Yeah.
So if Drummond is just going, he's on one side of the basket, he's on the other side of the basket. He goes to one side of the basket to the other side of the basket, runs all the way down the court. He's on one side of the basket and the other side of the basket. Just doing that, obviously it's a lot of mileage because he's going the hard way. And then you have Embiid, who's doing more of I guess he'd be playing more like the 3 rather than the 4, because it would be like he'd be a shooting forward, not a power forward.
Yeah.
And it would take away a lot of pressure off of his knees for having to get inside. He would get those long rebounds still. He'd still be a formidable, presence. I mean, I don't know. That's why I'm not a basketball coach. I'm sure that there are plenty of reasons why you can't do this, why this doesn't make sense. And I'm just not strong enough with my basketball knowledge
Sure.
to say that's the reason. But then I look at how Popovich became so popular, and it started off with David Robinson, who was a true center, and then you bring in the other one, and he was a true center, and you moved Robinson to the 4, and it worked. And then I think of the Twin Towers with Houston.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was back in the Seattle days.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Where I mean, it was Ralph Sampson and Olajuwon, was it not?
Yeah. Yep.
And they won a couple of championships, and both of those guys were monsters. Now,
No, I mean it can definitely work.
the NBA was a lot different then.
Yes.
Not as many threes. Not everything went inside. You drove all the time. You don't see any really good drives anymore. Nobody drives to the basket.
No, nobody really works anybody down and drives in. Like that's not part of the game anymore. If it does happen, it's like a one-off highlight reel moment, and it was because it was the only one that happened all year.
Wasn't that? But I mean, that part of basketball was awesome. When everybody would clear out a side of the floor, everybody would go to the other side, and it would be 1-on-1.
Yep.
And you would drive the floor. Like that's the stuff that's basketball. Like that's how basketball should be. Now everybody's throwing these things in, from far away. It kind of reminds me as now that Uh, I was watching something somewhere. I don't know where it was. It was on some type of social media, I guess, where they have a golf club now, and I'm correlating this way. They have a golf club that you can throw the ball rather than hit the ball.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's like so it's a you have like a driver, a mid range, and you have to putt the ball to get it into the hole. Obviously, you're not going to be throwing the ball on the green, but but that's what it is. You're in the spot where the ball is, and you throw it rather than drive it.
So it's like a chuck it for dogs, the tennis ball.
No, it's a regular golf ball.
No. I understand the ball's different, but like it's essentially that, right? Like it's the chuck it type thing where it's a stick with the little hook that launches the ball. I mean, my initial drive from the tee box would be so much better than
Exactly. That's exactly correct. Like I would play golf that way.
Yeah, I would kill it.
I would enjoy golf again because I can't stand playing golf right now, and people would like to play with me then.
No, that would be entertaining. Like I could get into that. For me to golf now, I'm hoping the beer cart is just following me around because that's what I need.
There's a place not far from me that sells bags, like big bags of golf balls. I buy 2 of those bags.
Sure.
And I still have to borrow balls from somebody to finish my rounds when I'm done playing.
Yeah.
There, I would only get like maybe a box of balls and do it that way. You know what I mean? And throw.
Yeah.
Like I would throw, and that I would be so much better. I'd be so much better.
Oh,
But you're not driving it as far. You're not throwing a golf ball as far as you can drive a golf ball.
I don't know. Depends on what it is you're throwing it with. Because if you're throwing it with a similar style shaft where it's got some flex to it, I bet you could get some pretty wicked drives out of it.
The throwing golf club, that's what it is. It's
I feel like that's a lot of hilarious videos before what.
Yes, that's exactly what this is. This is the
that is horrible shot into the drink.
that's exactly what it is. They're showing people throwing golf clubs
Absolutely.
all over the place.
Yeah, that was the only right answer that was going to happen. That being said, I should go to the driving range soon. That is
Fling golf.
Fling golf.
Fling golf is what it is. There it is. I knew I had to pull it up somewhere. It's like a very like it's almost like a
sounds like a dating site.
It does, but it's almost like a really small lacrosse stick.
Yeah,
like the head's lacrosse, and you're throwing it.
So bring up, type in "chuck it" dog toy, and you'll see why I made the comparison.
Chuck it dog toy. There we go. The chuck it dog. Yes.
Yeah.
Similar.
And that's why I said, like, you could kill it at that, but there's flex in the shaft there. So, I mean, you could get some real distance.
Right. Well, and they're saying that you could throw the ball with this fling it about 260 yards.
Yeah, I can see that. You know, and that's as far as most people drive anyway, right? Like that's not PGA guys, but your average person isn't really out driving that very much.
Like, and that's what I'm going to do that. Like, anytime you want me to go golfing, perfect. I'm going to play the way I play. I just need to borrow your putter.
The best part about that is it would probably stay in the fairway.
Yeah, I mean, it would. Like, I would walk. I wouldn't need a cart or nothing. I would just walk the course.
Yeah. No, I mean, because when I'm hitting it off the tee, like I get in, I got a pretty good slice. So I end up in we'll call it the rough, right? It's that real tall grass with branches. That's usually where my ball ends up.
Oh, I'm not very good at when I hit the ball, figuring out where the ball went. I'm not good at that at all. I
Yep.
can't track the ball. I keep saying that I want to create a golf ball with the chip inside, so that I find that ball over and over and over again. And
I mean,
I would
it
still need like 7
probably have
balls
that.
because of. I'm sure they do. I can't imagine why they wouldn't. It would
Yeah.
save me a lot of money, because I'd buy a box of those ball, and the box would be 3 of those balls. Probably cost me about $60. And you know what? I would not be wasting everybody's time looking for where my ball went in the wrong spot. And disc golf, I play disc golf. I have played about 28 courses throughout the U.S.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I've never actually done a full course. Like I've done some holes, but I've never done a full course. It is pretty fun. I'm not good at it because obviously I haven't done it very much, but
It takes
it's
a little
entertaining.
bit. It does take a little bit to get used to playing. It's not like throwing a frisbee. It's
Yeah.
much different. There was a time in my life where I was, we called ourselves the unemployment crew, and we would go there and we would play for quarters on a hole,
Oh, okay.
and I would make like $8 a day, playing frisbee golf, which
Hey,
was enough for 2 beers. Or if the bar that I would go to, I would drink beer for free, and I would just tip the $8. so, I felt like I was, doing something with my life. But yeah, I've played a lot of courses out there, and you don't have to throw a frisbee like a normal frisbee. There were
yeah.
a lot of times I threw the frisbee like a baseball, and it would go just as far. But I
Oh,
have I have ones that slice left, ones that slice right, ones that are like tomahawks, and putters. I have like long range putter, short range putter. I have about 40 golf discs
hmm,
available.
interesting.
So yeah. Well, you know what? Here we go. Actually, while we are on our break, I'll go grab them,
All right.
and I'll show you some of the ones that I have. We'll talk about frisbee golf because there's a couple of courses real close to here, and they're all around the country. So if you put in frisbee golf, you could find out all the courses that are close by to you.
All right.
So, but anyways, we're at the top of the hour. Let's take our station identification break, and we will be back in just a few minutes, right after these non-important messages.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, you can see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this
Oh,
team.
I'm ready.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face.
Oh, I'm from Brooklyn.
Hey, get any?
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Sometimes, all you need to change your life is a sign. A sign that says, "Hank, this is the place you've been looking for." And sometimes that sign is an actual sign that's mounted to a building. 1 second, I'm looking at a sign. I know what you're thinking, and no, I don't love B-dubs just because I'm a buffalo with wings. Frankly, that's offensive and reductionist. Cause this place, come on. It's like they took beer and made it into a place and then gave that place sports and chicken wings. And the people, Cuba, the best.
Oh! What the is going on, Marty? This isn't a game. This is trivia.
Yeah, this place is kind of like heaven. You know, without needing to get hit by a bus. Let's go, sports bar!
Supporting the needs of our veterans. That's the goal of all of us at Team AmVets. Like Mitch, Carlos, and Kevin from our Welcome Home team that brings furniture to our vets.
We are Team AmVets.
Or Linda from our thrift stores who brings you great bargains every day.
I am Team AmVets.
And John, who picks up your thrift store donations that support California veterans programs.
I am Team AmVets.
Visit our website or a Team AmVets thrift store to donate or shop today.
Join the team!
And we are back. Rather than me try to race to put on another commercial that's not here yet. Anyways, so I was talking about all the discs I have. I mean, just to give you an idea, these are just my putters. I have 3 putters specifically. This one is more of my short range putter. You have a long range putter. The drivers are go different. So most of the drivers that I have when they get to the end of their spin, will start to go right.
Okay.
But there are some that go left. So, like, for instance, my Cobras, when I would do the Cobras or the Cyclones, they will go left. They're mid-range drivers. If I'm in brush, I go with my Tomahawk driver, where this has got a lot stronger edge. And you could tell that they're not anywhere near like a regular Frisbee. And they have different edges around. Like, this has got a heavy duty edge because it's used to hitting trees.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So but like that, they're old, obviously. These, I haven't played in a minute, but I love getting out there. I have like a whole bag and everything and stuff like that. There's literally 18 discs that I own.
Nice.
So anytime you want to go do that, I recommend anybody go out, and it's a great day to walk around, especially when the weather's nice, to go walk around the course. It's not that hard. It's usually in a forest. They usually have them in state parks. I have to imagine that you could, anybody who would go to Yellowstone, you could probably bring four discs and go around Yellowstone. I'm sure they have a course there because they're very friendly. It's very green friendly.
I got you. Yeah, no, it's some buddies of mine and I we go camping every year over in a little town called Winthrop, Washington. And so we go up and there's a spot called Buck Lake. So we camp up there, but then we'll end up going down into Winthrop, and they have a golf course. So we'll hit that. And then they do have some Frisbee golf there. So, sometimes you'll do a couple of holes of that. And of course, it's a guy's weekend. So we're up there, drinking and, playing bad golf. Like that's, or we'll go up into the hills a little bit further and go shooting and stuff like that. But
right. Frisbee golf is a great bring the cooler, drink some beer, exactly. Smoke some stuff, and walk around in nature.
Yep.
Where regular golf is a little bit different stuff to it. You know what I mean? I just think that regular golf's a little too stuffy.
Well, it depends on the course. So obviously we're not playing, PGA level courses. We're playing garbage courses when we're doing it, because they're also the ones that aren't going to freak out if you have a beer in your hand.
Right. Yeah. Like I most of the courses around here require a collared shirt, which isn't a big deal. Like, I have plenty of collared shirts.
Sure.
It's just that when you're wearing a collared shirt, it's not as same. Like if I want to wear a t-shirt and go walking around Sedgley Woods, which is the course that I used to play all the time around here, that was fun. You know what I mean? Where you know they would have different spots where people would be just hanging out and partying and drinking and smoking and doing their things and stuff like that. So
Yeah, I mean that's the course I want to play on, right? Is the
right.
one where people are there having fun. Like I don't play golf enough, nor do I foresee myself playing golf enough to be good enough to want to be that. Like, where I'm, I got my perfect gloves and my pressed collared shirt and, some bad shorts and like, I'm good. I'm not trying to do that. If I'm going to go, I'm going to understand that I'm going to have a nice walk ruined by a little ball with a beer in my hand. That's golf to me.
Yeah. I mean, in my case, it's like I am, hitting the ball, trying to see if somebody can show me where I hit it, seeing if I could go find the ball, looking for the ball, can't find the ball, go to somewhere somebody else is standing, drop the ball, be like, oh, look, I just found it. It was right here all this time. Hit it again, lose that ball. It's just like,
Yeah. Well, I mean, so one of the ones that I remember the most, there was a golf course that was in the Bothell Kenmore area here, and it was called Wayne Golf Course. It's gone now. I think it's apartment buildings now, but part of the course had the fairways kind of zigzag back and forth, right?
right.
And I annihilated a ball, absolutely crushed it. The problem is about 100 feet out, it took a hard right. Like it just went and gone, right? So couldn't find it. Dropped another ball, kept playing. And that thing took such a hard right that it was 5 fairways over when I found it. Because I was walking down the fairway because I couldn't find the ball that I had just hit. But I found my ball from 5 holes ago. And I was like, oh, well, I'll play that one because it's square in the middle.
This was a great hit by me. I'll tell you probably one of the best drives I ever had. Of course, I didn't realize I had it. I hit the ball, and my balls always make right turns. You know what I mean? I just, for some reason or another, I haven't figured out how to hold the club right. Every once in a while, I'll hit one dead straight, which is great. But for the most part, they would always turn dead right. And this is about a 318-yard hole. And I hit this ball, and I crush it, but you're right. It makes that right turn. I don't know where it's at. I stopped, and I couldn't figure it out where it went, whatever. Get another ball, get another ball, get another ball. We finally get to the green because it was a dog leg right. There it is. It's on the green.
Oh, awesome.
So it was like one of my best hits. I still wind up getting par for the hole because it was one of those really long greens, and I'm still not very good. Like I'm a good putter when it's putt, but not necessarily doing that. And literally, I was like, oh, but it was one of the best ones because I stopped and took 3 more shots after that, lost another 2 balls, but I could have just played my 1 ball.
Yeah. No, it's if yours are going right, it's because you have the same problem I do, where you're swinging.
We suck.
Well, I mean, yes, definitely that. But you're swinging it like it's baseball. So the way you're using your wrist, you're opening the club face, which is why it. So what I started doing at the driving range is I actually hold the club in my hand with the head kind of turned towards me a little bit because I know I'm going to open the club face, and then it does go a little bit straighter that way.
I was told just put some Vaseline on the club head, and I'm dead serious that it will change. When you don't do that, or when you put that on there, it takes the ball will take the strike, but not the spin.
Oh, okay.
And it's the spin because of the way we're hitting the ball. We are spinning the golf ball. When you put that Vaseline on there, it takes the strike and will go straight without the spin. Because you're not putting like on. I know we talked about the Vaseline thing before. Um, you're putting on a thin layer of Vaseline. It's just
You're
not like
just dumping the club head in it.
yeah, this is great. Woo! Where you go to swing the ball, and where'd the ball go? It's stuck to the head with the Vaseline.
uh,
But yeah, that's what I was told. Again, I don't know if it's any true because I haven't played golf since then, but I know that I keep Vaseline with me on the golf course just in case.
you're just walking around with tubs of Vaseline everywhere you go. It might get cold.
Yeah, it might get cold. Hey, my lips are chapped. Hey, here's some Vaseline for you. Yeah. I'm chafing. Here's some Vaseline. You know what I mean?
100% of the time, everybody will be like, "Nah, I'm good."
Yeah, why are you carrying Vaseline on you around the golf course? Long story. And that's about all we want to talk about with golf today.
No doubt.
So, one of the things that we were talking about that I mentioned yesterday that that we talked about a little bit off air, but I wanted to bring up again here was we were talking about the WNBA, and I brought it up yesterday to end the show where I feel that the WNBA should start promoting this Caitlin Clark versus Angel Reese rivalry right now.
Well,
They both got chosen. Get it out there.
They should be anyway because the season starts in 2 weeks. So, like, if you were gonna be hyping any of this stuff, it should be happening right now.
Right. I mean, they just had the draft. It was probably one of the most watched drafts in a while.
It was the most WNBA draft ever.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's not setting the bar super high. Let's.
Well,
So
to give you some perspective, in years past, I have ran polls on how many people were going to, are you going to watch the WNBA draft, right? And inevitably, the response that I would get would be
no,
like 5% yes, right, and 95% no. And for this particular draft, it was, I want to say it was like 43% yes. That's huge.
Right.
Because it's not like you get 100% yes for the NFL draft, right? Like, I mean, that's a huge number for the WNBA, especially when you figure in years past, it really has been very low.
Right. No, and I can imagine. I mean, there hasn't been anybody exciting to watch. Not that I think that they watched past the first pick in the draft.
They probably watched the first round just because it was quick.
What's it? Is it 5 minutes? You got your first pick. You got 5 minutes on the clock. You got your next pick. You got 5 minutes on the clock. You get your next pick.
Yeah, and the picks were coming in, right? Because this particular draft, you had so many good players. You didn't have like a huge waiting period at each one. Like, I mean, that first round really went pretty fast.
Well, they needed to go fast because you're not going to keep anybody riveted. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I think people were going to hang on until Reese went, right? Because she was going to be the last one of the big names.
Okay.
So,
and then she went
seventh. So, I mean, you don't have to hang on that much longer for the end of the first round.
Yeah. I mean, I think that it's, there's only 12 teams? 14 teams?
14 teams?
I don't know.
I don't know, something like that.
I mean, I thought that there was 12 because they wanted to expand another 4, but maybe there's 14. They want to expand another 2 to 16. Because I know that Philadelphia is now in the mix.
Yeah, well, and Golden State's getting one. So
interesting. But because I had mentioned this yesterday where I thought that right now that the WNBA needs to have a better marketing plan or a social media presence than they do right now. And they don't have any of it. Like you should be almost flooding social media right now because it's free. I mean,
exactly.
you could pay somebody to do this. You're already, what's it? They lost $10 million. So lose $10 million and another 100,000.
There's 12 teams.
okay, and another 100,000, and get two people, young college students, to do social media and flood the market with WNBA stuff. Like, just flood
So
it.
the thing is, right? If the WNBA is essentially owned by the NBA, right? Do you think they don't do it because the start of their season starts in the NBA playoffs?
No,
Does,
that's not the reason why I don't think
does
that.
that stifle their coverage?
I
I mean,
don't think so.
it seems like it would, right?
I
Because
don't
your
think it
main
would.
networks are going to do the main networks are going to carry playoff basketball.
But that's why you want social media.
No, I'm with
You
you.
have
Like,
your social media coverage already. You're going to
yeah,
get that. You're going to still put all that stuff out. You already have those things in place.
and they
You
certainly
need.
should be doing that.
So I have a difference of opinion now. This is where I think that the conspiracy theory will start to come into play.
So,
That if you look at the
so is it like a small conspiracy theory or like a big
well, it's you might have to use a little bit of both there. I look at it as that the NBA. Think of the NBA as as this entity. Obviously, it is this entity, and if you own a major business, you own this monster business, makes tons of money. A lot of those business owners own businesses that fail
Sure.
so that they can get the tax write-offs. Is this what the NBA is doing?
I mean, I wouldn't rule it out, right?
Because then you don't want it to succeed at that point. You want it to continue doing what it's doing. Yeah, because as of right now, the way this plan goes, as they expand into further markets, they're taking on more responsibility, more liability, and more loss. That's what's happening.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what they want. They want this to not do as well. And because of that, they get the tax abatement and tax write-offs
Yeah,
on
I
that.
mean, maybe, or I mean, I could definitely see it from a business standpoint where that could be useful. But I mean, I think the WNBA does get does start to get more viewers over the last couple of years just because of how the game has evolved for the NBA and the fact that, you know, things get called all the time and then things that have been rules forever don't get called. I mean, there are plenty of games that LeBron could have had a quadruple double if you included his rushing yards because he didn't he didn't dribble and they didn't call a travel. Like, so I mean, I don't know. Some of the ways the NBA has changed sure makes it harder to watch, especially in a regular season. So I mean, maybe they do want the WNBA to start to succeed now.
Well, that's exactly it. It would start to succeed.
Yes.
Because the truth of the matter is that had they not been an entity with the NBA,
Mhm.
if it was just the WBA and no attachment to the NBA, that
Sure.
it was, I got to imagine that they would make some money, that there would be some money being made. That
So
right now the losses come from the operations of the arenas.
I forget. There was another league for a while. Seattle Reign.
I knew the owner of that. I knew
Yeah.
one of the owners of the Seattle Reign. Her name was Shauna Parson. She was an arm wrestler.
Oh, okay.
She still lives in Seattle. I was going to reach out to her when I came up and said hello. Say hello. She was, like I said, she was an arm wrestler. I knew her through arm wrestling.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Like, it's been so many years now.
It's been a few years. It folded.
It was the American Basketball League. There we go. And yeah, I mean, the thing is it runs into a problem that a lot of spring football did prior to what it is we're looking at now, where the major leagues didn't embrace it, right? So, in fact, spring football through the years, the NFL actively tried to ruin, right? They didn't want the competition. Now they're so big, they're like, oh, yeah, I guess cool, whatever you do, we want to try some stuff in your league. But,
Right.
you know, I think I think that was some of the problem that the ABL ran into is they struggled getting TV contracts. The NBA wanted nothing to do with them. It was kind of a problem. And it only lasted like
3
a
years.
few years, right?
Yeah, I think it was 3 years.
So
I hear that. I feel like that the reason why there's a loss in the WNBA
Mhm.
is because of arena costs.
And
Because truth of the
major,
matter is that because you wanna gouge these teams if you want there to be a loss.
yeah,
Like, hey, listen, they're not. We're not going to sell out. We're not going to be able to sell beers for $12 a beer. We're going to have to sell them for $6. But it's costing us $5.78 to pour that beer, which is BS.
yeah,
They're paying themselves ridiculous amounts of money.
no,
The
of
only
course,
people not getting paid are the players,
yep,
really.
yep.
So that's what I'm getting at. Like that's what I feel like
Well,
that
I mean,
there
and it
is.
could be from the top down, stopping your marketing machine from being effective, because the fact that you're not really hearing more buildup for this coming season that's 2 weeks away is insane to me, right? Like you just had the draft, you just had all of these stars coming out of college. The fact that you're not hyping this up is crazy. I mean, the only thing you heard about Caitlin Clark is Antonio Brown being a douche, right? Like she had her initial press conference. There was some weirdness in that. You heard about that. And then you hear about AB being AB. But that's it. You're not hearing anything about the teams. You're not hearing anything about, potential rivalry. You're not hearing about, these teams starting, some of their their preseason workouts with their new draftees. Like you're not hearing about any of this.
Right. And actually, the first preseason game starts May 3rd. The
Yeah.
first regular season game starts May 14th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what are you hearing? Nothing.
Not
It's radio. It's radio silence from the league. That is wild to me. You are missing an incredible opportunity to cash in on the star power that your draft had.
Strike while the iron is hot. That's what they
Absolutely.
say across the board.
Yeah.
Strike while the iron is hot. When you are in the forefront, stay in the forefront. It's easier to stay on top of the hill than try to get to the top of the hill.
Absolutely.
So I don't understand it. And it makes me believe that they don't want it. That the NBA wants us to be a loser. And that's where my conspiracy theory, that's where my hat comes on.
Yeah.
And it's like, and it's a big hat, and then we used a little bit for horns. So
No, and you're not wrong. Like it does look like they deliberately misuse their ability to market, because it's not like they don't have the funds, right? If you're carried by the NBA, it wouldn't be hard for them to negotiate in the TV contract. Hey, let's bump some of these games into prime time. Let's get eyeballs on this.
right. Because ultimately, let's face it, the kids that are doing these social media for any professional franchise
Sure.
are not being paid a lot of money. They're not.
No, I would imagine not.
These are college kids that are like that's what I would be doing. See, and this is where if I was Caitlin Clark, this would be part of the things that I would start to ask for as part of my contract with some of these sponsors. I want you to provide me a certain salary for somebody to do my social media, and they're going to do all of my social media. So yes, you are paying me $10 million. And with that $10 million, I want a caveat where you're also going to give me an additional $100,000. So it's going to be 10,100,000.
Yep.
And that 100,000 is going to go for social media. I want to hire 2 people and they're going to do my social media.
Yeah.
All throughout the year.
Yeah. No, I could get into that. I mean, I don't know why your sponsors wouldn't be into it because you're going to be including your sponsors in it the whole time.
No, in fact, you want the sponsors, you want there to be entities from the sponsorship where it's like, hey, this is what Caitlin Clark is doing, and this was brought to you by State Farm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or
Nike. And that's exactly what I'd be doing. I mean, that's what I'm trying to do now personally.
Yeah.
Like, hey, yeah, this is I mean, I'd love to be able to afford somebody to do my social media. I'd love to have somebody follow me around, take all my videos, and get them out there. Have a kid who knows how to do the cap cuts better. Like, I don't know how to do any of that stuff because I'm too busy doing it rather than figure out how to do the cap cuts. I've watched somebody do a video. I do my video, I do it in one take. And they take that video, do the cap cuts, things, this, all of a sudden, bam, it's out in 15 minutes time. And it looks like I got all these different things going on. It's like fireworks came out of my butt after I was doing my talk. You know what I mean? Which is awesome. I wish I could do it.
Yep.
I'm not that good at it.
No. Like, I would love to have a producer. Like, that would be fantastic.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, because I guess the best thing that you have is me when I'm putting out the shows as the producer.
Yeah, no. It's that's why I'm like, oh yeah, you want to create the show, rock on, man. Like, I'm used to having to do all that, so sometimes it's great not having to be the guy.
Right.
But also because I do it all the time. When you're like, oh yeah, I set up the show, I got something to do or whatever. Like, it's why I don't care. It's what I do all the time anyway. But yeah, no. That's like if you're going somewhere and your friend's like, oh yeah, I'm going to drive. You're like, all right, this is going to be weird. I'm going to be in the passenger seat. I'm going to know what to do with myself.
Exactly. But it just made me think because I went on a rant yesterday about the WNBA and how they need to do better on their social media marketing because there's no money. It doesn't cost any money to do that. Maybe it costs what? I mean, I guess if you want the blue star or the blue check mark everywhere, what's it cost you? $20 with Meta, $20 with Twitter.
Well,
LinkedIn.
so it would be more though, because since it's an organization, Twitter really gets you. So for you to get the blue check mark as a person, right? It's like $200 a year, roughly. But if you're an organization, now again, it's not going to matter in the scheme of things because these organizations are huge and have a lot of money. But I think it's like $500 or $600 because the organizations get the gold check mark because they're fancy. But yeah, I mean, when you're paying for those things across all the platforms, I mean, it adds up, whatever. But of course, you're going to have a person that's manning that, or maybe a couple of people. But I feel like you need to have, and this isn't even necessarily just limited to them. Like, there's so many of these that their media team never responds to anything. Like, that's a huge missed opportunity for these teams.
Right. Especially if you have people that are engaging with you. Now, you have to pick and choose.
Of course.
I tell you, I know, I am followed by all of the Philadelphia sports teams.
Sure.
That's a big deal to me, actually. It's a very big
that's
deal.
Awesome.
Because it's not simple to have anybody follow you. Or like they're not just following anybody, and you have to show consistency of always being on their side. That's why I don't boo. You know what I mean? It's not that I don't get critical. You've heard me get critical about my team. So it's not if
you're a real fan, right? it's not sunshine and rainbows all the time. Like we've all lived through our sports teams having bad years, bad management, whatever, right? Like we've all experienced that. And if you are in those moments, for me, the Seahawks, when we went 2-14, right? Not exactly a shining moment in our history. Am I going to be in that season being like, we were awesome? Of course not. That's dumb. We did nothing well. 0 parts of our team did well.
Imagine the Flyers. All right, this is the perfect example. Last year,
sure,
and I'm doing the "Wake Up, Philadelphia, let me hear you." And every game I'm talking about how we're going to beat the other team.
Sure,
and because that's my content.
Well,
that's
no,
what I do.
But you still have to do that. Like I still think that even in a bad year, do I think we can still win games? Of course, right? It's any given Sunday. Like, yeah, we can do it. And we'll line out exactly what it is we need to do. It's like, okay, we need this group to step up. We need to see a big day out of these guys, but we can win this game because of these things. Now, after you don't win, you also have to be realistic. Like, you're not out there like, oh, the refs got us and all this. You're like, oh yeah, no, I mean, we dropped the ball here. And I mean, you're analyzing the game. Like, it's just, I don't know.
I would always do and as part of my content, you would only ever see me do the video before the game. And then if we won, you'd see me do the video after the game. If we lost, you wouldn't see a video.
Yeah. Okay.
Because ultimately I wasn't. Listen, everybody else is talking bad. You want to hear the bad, you're going to hear it from somebody else.
Sure.
Now, does that mean that I never got completely frustrated? I remember one time specifically, the Flyers were up in a game, and against Montreal, and Montreal came back and scored like 3 goals in 4 minutes time, and they wound up losing the game in overtime. And it was so frustrating to watch because they were up by 2 goals and lost the game in overtime. And it was like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? This is what this team is about. Like, they need to figure something else out here because this team needs that. I need to see more from them. They can't just quit. Nobody can just quit. I'm out here busting my ass for this team. I need this team to bust their ass for this team too. I don't want to see any quitters. And that's where I'll get irate. Like if I'm putting out more energy
than the team,
that's a problem. That
is a problem.
So, and I normally will address that. Thank God I haven't had to do that, at all.
Yeah.
Like I said, there was frustration when you lose 8 games and you just tell that they're not playing the way they should be or could be.
Mm-hmm.
That's frustrating to me, and I'll call that out. But I'm still going to love my team. I just don't like them sometimes.
And even in losses, right? Like, there's usually elements of the game that weren't horrible. Right. You're like, oh, okay, I liked what we did here. I get, the play call here made sense, even if it didn't work, whatever. Right. I mean, there's always parts of it that you can pull out. And then, ultimately you're going to be like, yeah, well, I mean, this thing here that we did, that's led to why we didn't win. Like,
Right.
So, I mean, there's always ways to, extrapolate good things out of the game. But, I don't know. And then, of course, Rob here, unless you're a Mariners fan, there's always 30 years ago, back in 95. I mean, that team was amazing. The problem is it was 95.
Right.
It's been a minute. It's kind of funny because it's one of the things I'm going to talk about because we got Hawk Talk right after this. And, one of the things we're going to talk about there is people are kind of losing their minds about, Mike McDonald taking all the murals and stuff down. Right. Which is the most asinine thing. They were like, oh yeah, they're just erasing history and all of this. It's like, no. Do you honestly think Pete Carroll kept all the Mike Holmgren stuff around the stadium? No. Right. Like that's not a real thing. Like if you got divorced, you still had good times with your ex-wife. I bet you don't have a bunch of pictures of your ex-wife with your new wife.
Right.
I'm going to go out there on a limb here and assume that is probably not a real thing. Right. It doesn't erase the fact that you had good memories with these people, right?
Right.
But you're moving into a new era. You're moving on with your life. So those memories are still there. You don't forget about them, but you probably don't have your ex-wife's pictures all over your house.
No, no. I No. In fact, there was a funny video I saw that the other day. Um, would you rather uh, get back with your ex or do a line of snow? And the guy's face was covered in flour.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah,
was immediately picturing Scarface.
yeah, exactly. He's like, say hello to my old friend.
Yeah,
This is,
exactly.
but yeah, that's that. And yes, history should be remembered.
Yeah.
But that's why you are able to take pictures.
Yeah.
You know
No,
what I mean?
exactly. So, I mean, besides, you all of a sudden you're showing pictures because at this point it's been a decade since that Super Bowl, right? So now, are your new players like, oh, they're trying to make us into this Legion of Boom? That's why this is all still here. And now you got a clean slate. Go out there and create something new, right? That era's over. You move on. You appreciate it. It's not like they threw the trophy away, right?
Right.
Like that Lombardi's still sitting in the case. Like all of those things still exist. You just don't have the players having to look at that championship team. They get to make their own way forward now.
They get to write their own chapter.
Exactly.
And that's I understand that. You know what I mean? I get that. If you want to look at history, you look up around your circle.
Yeah.
The retired
Ring of,
numbers
yeah.
and things
Ring
like
of
that.
Honor.
That's the history. You know what I mean? If you want to see pictures, that's the pictures of the guys where they're in a very specific spot in the stadium. If you want to go remember that type of history, short of that, that's it. It's it. Well, you know what? It's funny that you say that because nobody wants to see Russ picks. But let's go 10 years into the future. You said this is 10 years now that you've won your Super Bowl, right? This will be your 10th year.
Yeah.
So obviously that they're not going to bring back Russ Wilson for that game, unless you guys play Pittsburgh this year at all at home.
I don't know offhand.
So if by chance you do play Pittsburgh at home, you would probably do it that day.
I
However,
I don't think they play him at all this year, actually.
well, that's kind of what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
That being said, say you go 10 years and you don't win another Super Bowl. In 20 years, in 10 years from now, when they're bringing back the 20th anniversary team that won the Super Bowl, I know that right now you're probably saying, no, we would still boo Russ. Do you think that would really be the case?
Yeah, I mean, I think I think the only time he's not going to get the negative spin is after he retires and comes back to have his number put up in the Ring of Honor. They won't retire his jersey, but he'll get in the Ring of Honor.
So that being the case, as he gets into the Ring of Honor, once that occurs, you can't boo him again.
No, I don't think they would from that point, right?
Right.
It's one of those where the way he left, people didn't like. It rubbed people the wrong way. They're going to boo him when he comes in, which really isn't that much different than an opposing quarterback coming in anyway, right? And so then once he retires, he'll get into the Ring of Honor. There'll be a couple of boos, but mostly it'll be applauded. Because we did get a ring while he was here. We went to 2 Super Bowls. He did set a lot of records for the first 10 years of a career, right? Which all happened in Seattle. In theory, if he doesn't win somewhere else, he gets into the Hall of Fame. He goes in as a Seahawk, right? So that'll be embraced as another Seahawk in the Hall of Fame.
If he gets in the Hall of Fame.
It would be.
I think that he's not there. I don't think he's there yet.
It'd be hard to imagine, based on the records that he set through the first 10 years, that he doesn't find his way in. I don't think he's a first ballot, but I would bet that he finds his way in, unless he is just absolutely horrendous in Pittsburgh also. Like, his time in Denver definitely hurt his bid for the Hall of Fame. Had he just retired after the 10 years in Seattle, I think he gets in. After having those 2 years in Denver, I think that sort of, it muddied the water, but I think when you look back on the stats and the body of work, it still gets him in. But that being said, so even if he doesn't get in, once his name goes up in the ring, people aren't going to care anymore. They're gonna be like, oh yeah, Ring of Honor, we got a championship with him, whatever. And then, it's not like he spends time in Seattle anymore anyway. So what, another few years after that, he'll probably come into town and raise the 12 flag. People would embrace that. Cause you again would be, so many years removed from him, his career. So I think ultimately he'll be embraced. It'll take time. Yeah, this was the dumbest. This was one of the dumbest things.
I disagree that statement.
No, that was Russ's statement.
Oh, I know. That's that.
Yeah. So here's the thing that I found the most ridiculous about it is when he was making his comparisons, right? He paved the way for Mahomes and all of this, right? When he made his comparisons, the name he did leave off, which is hilarious to me because he went to a Super Bowl. He didn't win it, but Donovan McNabb had pretty amazing career, gets to a Super Bowl. And when you look at their stats and everything, they're kind of similar. They're kind of similar. Russ was more efficient, but I mean, it's not like he did anything that McNabb didn't do other than actually winning a Super Bowl.
Which he didn't really win. It was the defense that won that Super Bowl.
No, hands down. But I mean, he was on a team, he got a ring. And so, but it's like, when you look at the comparisons that he made, he just neglected to have Donovan McNabb on there. And that seemed kind of wild, but that's one of those, you're going to look at stats that help support your case. I feel like he used names to try and help support his case.
Right. But left Donovan off the list because he won the Super Bowl and Donovan didn't win the Super Bowl.
He didn't mention him at all. It's like Donovan just didn't exist because the numbers are too close.
Right. And Donovan's not in. That's why. And I look at that as Donovan won't be in.
He won't be in. Rings matter. Rings matter. Look at Eli.
Well, Eli's not in.
He will be, though.
I don't know.
I would put pizza money on that he gets in.
I wouldn't bet it, but I don't know.
It's the rings. The rings matter. If he doesn't win those 2 rings, he doesn't get in because he is absolutely as average as it could be. Now, he was durable. I'll give him that. His durability was unmatched. But, he won as many games as he lost. He doesn't have, glowing numbers anywhere. He had 2 good postseason runs. And one of the rings was against the undefeated Patriots. That'll put him over the top. That'll push him in. Because as we all know, stats aren't what all matters. Because otherwise, T.O. would have been a first ballot.
Well, he was a second ballot because he just couldn't be a first ballot.
Yeah.
Because they didn't want him to be a first ballot.
That's exactly right. So because it's a voting game and because of how big taking down the juggernaut of that Patriots team was, he gets in.
I don't know. I guess we'll see when it comes time. I mean, he's on there now, isn't he? He shouldn't be getting. Well, no, I guess he got one more year left to go.
Yeah, I was going to say he is not quite eligible, but I mean, he's going to get in. I don't think he should get in. I don't think his career necessarily warrants it. but he gets in.
Yeah, that's odd to me, but all right. Well, I mean, I guess I could see it, but that being the case, Russ has only won one. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
but
And
winning a ring is huge. It's huge. I think the one award that he didn't get, and really actually hasn't gotten any votes for, is the one that probably hurts him most, is the MVP.
right.
Not winning an MVP hurts his ability to get in.
Yeah, because
But
he was never really looked at as the best of his era.
no, yeah. Well, and so that's always my argument against Eli.
Right.
It's like, yeah, he got 2 rings, but at 0 point was he ever. Did you ever think of him as, oh, he's that guy?
No,
Zero.
both times it was defense.
It was
Both times.
defense and some incredibly,
Lucky
amazing
catches.
catches, right? Like
Lucky
there were a
catches.
lot of things that went their way, but I mean, they were incredible runs, right? Now, if I was going to go with just, ability, I'd
Now,
have
could you
4.
say the same thing about Brett Favre? Thinking about that Super Bowl, was it that Super Bowl that was the only time that a special teamer was named as the MVP of the game?
Yeah. Yeah.
Brett
I
Favre
mean,
could falls in that same category. You know what I mean? Although he was great and stuff like that, it's
no, but see, there's a difference though, because he was lauded as the best various times in his career. Right. So that's wildly different. Like that would be, I wouldn't put Eli in the Brett Favre caliber, because, there was just far more talent with Brett Favre. Now he got in his own way, right? Like he couldn't figure out how to not play hero ball. Because otherwise he probably would have had more rings.
Yeah, at least 2 specifically.
Yeah. I mean, he would have won one with the Vikings.
Right.
That team was amazing. If he just throws the ball away instead of back across his body into the teeth of the defense and gets picked off, that team probably wins. But it's Brett Favre, and that's what he does. He was fun to watch, though.
He was fun to watch, And you think about the guy before him, Majikowski, nobody remembers him.
I literally don't remember him, yeah.
Except, of course, me. I remember Majikowski. But, it's, I don't know. I going back to Russ, if he does make it in, he goes in as a Seahawk, all should be forgiven because now you have him as a Hall of Famer as representing your organization.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I say, like, soon as he gets into the Ring of Honor, or if he gets into the Hall of Fame, because it's so many years removed before that happens, right? Time heals all. And so that's one of those, okay, you kind of forget. You've had other things go on now. His career ends however it ends, right? I think that's where it'll end up being fine. And he doesn't, again, he doesn't spend time in Seattle. So it's not like he's going to be shoved down your throat all the time. I would imagine he gets into the ring, and then a couple years later he comes and raises the 12th man flag. And then that's kind of it.
Right. I can see that. We kind of have the same type of feeling about Donovan McNabb here a little bit. It's funny that, you mentioned him a little bit ago. And except he went about it in a different way. When he came back to get honored, it was like, number 5 will always love you. He said that to a crowd of people. Number 5 will always love you. And nobody lets him live that down ever.
That is amazing.
Right.
And they shouldn't. They shouldn't. That is
right.
That is the most removed type of statement you could have.
Right. Yeah, because he's like, oh, I got booed in the draft and blah blah blah, and it's like, you know what? Stop crying. Stop, and stop drinking too, because you get DUIs too many times. So, yeah. But
get an Uber. How many times have we had this conversation on this show? Get a damn Uber.
well, I don't tell anybody how to live their life, and I think he did slow down on the drinking, but I was just busting balls in that regard.
No, I know. I'm just saying.
Right.
Uber.
Exactly. All you got to do is Uber it up. So, anyways, as we've come to the top of the hour, like I said, next week it's going to be NFL draft all the way, except for a couple of conversations about how basketball is doing. Like I said, the NHL is going to fall to the wayside here because we don't have a lot of NHL in our blood right now. As much as I love the hockey, it's gonna suck.
Yep.
He hangs with Sherman too much. Yeah, that's the problem. Yeah, Sherman is another wackadoo. Yeah, that's a whole different conversation.
And of course, if you're watching, be sure to stay tuned. Hawk Talk coming up next, and Rob is actually going to join me on that one.
There you go. And just to let everybody know, if you are looking for the Northeast Streaming Sports Network on Facebook, we don't know what happened, but
they got some shadow ban.
Yeah, no, it's not a shadow ban. It was a removal, and we're not sure why. It's that the whole page got removed. But definitely find us on Roku. It's now called the National Streaming Sports Programming on Roku. Definitely check us out there. We always look much better on a big screen. So definitely check there. We're all still on YouTube as well. So definitely check us out in those two places. But just to let you know, we are no longer on Facebook at this moment until we can figure out a way to get a hold of Mark and tell Mark that he sucks and that to put us back up there before we take a potato gun and start.
I feel like we're a couple rows back in that queue.
Yeah, I'm sure. But everybody, have a great weekend, and we will see you guys again on Monday. Take care.